Hey, fifth grade. Today we're going to be reading Potterwookie, chapter 14, and for this chapter it is called One Last Obstacle. I woke up the next morning to the sound of Libby screaming. Someone had snuck into her room and mysteriously messed up all of her makeup. I'm not positive it was Harry, but something about the way he looked and spoke made me suspicious. The troll deserved it. Remember from the last chapter, he had kind of made fun of her. I tried to explain to him that he had done a bad thing, but he didn't understand. If you're such a powerful wizard, why don't you just get rid of her? Look, I'm her brother. Harry growled again, vowing to cast a spell on the troll himself as soon as he remembered a good one. Knock yourself out. I probably would have been more interested in coming up with a spell that would cause Libby grief if I hadn't been so nervous about the tryouts this afternoon. There would be lights and cameras and lots of contestants. There would also be people from the show with microphones asking us questions. What makes you think you have a chance? I don't know, I'm nuts. Besides, I would be working with Jack and Teddy and Rourke and Aaron and Trevor. They still knew nothing about baking and making food, and only Aaron lied about having any skills. I invented the spatula. My middle name is Custard. I can debone a salad. Little Debbie has a crush on me. Aaron also called whisking super stirring, and he brought boiling meant roll things in nuts. The only real advantage we had was that all of us were incredibly average, and according to the name of the show, that was what was most important. Average chef. So average, we're bland. My friends came over to my house around noon for last minute questions and one final pep talk. I tried to say things that would rally them and get them fired up for the competition. This is our time to bake, our time to sear. Trevor looked slightly pumped up, and Jack called me a cooking nerd. The rest of my friends seemed too nervous to say anything. I knew none of them really wanted to do this, but they all felt obligated. Because of Janae and her friends challenging us, Jack kept insisting, I can't cook. And I just kept telling him that he would have to do was just stand there and chop things or clean things. Rourke had other concerns. Will there be any balloons or latex? I'm allergic to latex. That's his other friend. I put my hand I put my head in my hands and sighed. I had already told Rourke 10 times that there would be no latex involved, but he still kept asking. Besides, he wasn't really allergic to latex, he was just scared of balloons. Teddy was doing this for the dough. How much money does the winner get? They all knew that today was just the tryouts and that there was no money involved. I just told them 100 times that if we won the tryouts, then we would be on the actual show, and then maybe we might win $10,000. I'm gonna buy a monkey. Trevor started to lecture Jack about saving his money while the others argued over whether or not they should buy a solid gold car or a solid gold plane. I couldn't think about any of that. I just wanted to make it through the day without looking worse in front of Janae. This wasn't supposed to be about selfish things like money or monkeys. This was supposed to be about me looking awesome in front of Janae. Your hero has arrived. To make things even more troublesome, my mom wasn't gone doing something with Tuffin, so she couldn't drive us to the tryouts. That meant my dad would have to do it. Dad got me wrong. Don't get me wrong, I love my dad, but he drives like a grandma's great grandma. I don't think he ever put the pedal to the metal. In fact, I don't think he's ever really pushed the gas pedal down. It always feels like we're crawling when he's at the wheel. Once, when I needed to get to the store to buy some shoes that were on sale, he drove so slow, that by the time we got there, I was out of luck. Sorry, but the sale ended days ago, and those shoes are no longer in this store. So it made me uneasy to know that we were going to be dependent on my father to get us to the tryouts on time. The rules of the competition clearly stated that any team that wasn't there by the start time was automatically eliminated. I grabbed my backpack and my recipes, and we all loaded into our huge van. My dad pulled out of the driveway and began to drive in the wrong direction. I knew the Civic Center was near the small hills, and we were heading away from them. Where are we going? I just need to make a quick stop. My heart passed out. I hated my dad's quick stops, but they were never quick. In fact, his quick stops were a big reason he was always late. I couldn't talk my dad out of his quick stop, no matter how hard I tried. He needed to drop off a swing at a park on the other side of town. One of the swings was broken, and he had promised to deliver a new one today. I begged and pleaded with him to go to the tryouts first, but he kept saying, "We have time in abundance." When we arrived at the park, my dad got out of his toolbox and took off the broken swing. He then attached the new one and asked me to test the swing to make sure it worked. "Here, let me push you." By the time we got back into the van, there were only 25 minutes until the tryout started, and we were at least 26 minutes away. Even Jack was growing anxious. "I want that monkey." Despite being in a hurry, my dad drove 5 miles under the speed limit while whistling. Also, every school zone we went through, he slowed down even more. I rubbed my eyes out of frustration. It was Saturday and the schools weren't even in session, but he insisted on going slow anyway. It would look pretty bad for a playground salesman to have an accident in a school zone. I glanced at the clock on the dashboard and moaned. The tryout started in 10 minutes and we were at least 15 minutes away. Trevor suggested we all cry to make my dad go faster. It wasn't the best plan, but it was all we had. But our wailing and complaining didn't seem to faze my father in the least. He just kept whistling and talking as if there was no urgency at all. "Did I ever tell you boys about the time I sat and did nothing for hours?" My dad stopped the car completely while we waited for a train to cross in front of us. I was thinking about pulling my hair out when I felt something tap my right foot. I looked down, and there, peeking out of my backpack, was Harry. I brought him only because he had promised to stay hidden. I motioned for him to get back in, but instead of listening, he pulled out his right hand and lifted up his wand. He pointed it toward my dad's head and mumbled something. Strong red sparks flew out the end of the wand, and instantly my dad's glasses fogged up. "Hey, I can't see a thing." I looked at Harry and panicked. I wasn't sure how my dad being blind would help the situation. To make things scarier, all the van windows began to fog up too. The van grew dark, and there was no sign of an outside world. I could feel my seat rock, and then with a swift forward motion, I felt the entire van being lifted. My body pressed back into my seat as the vehicle lunged forward. Everyone was screaming and crying, for real now. My dad seemed oblivious to it all. He took off his glasses and was wiping the lens with his tie. Since he couldn't see very well with his glasses off, he didn't even notice the fogged up windows or the fact that we seemed to be flying, which was weird because it felt like we were soaring miles above the earth. A few seconds later, we could feel the van drop and touch the ground. We all bounced in our seat belts as the vehicle came to a sudden stop. Instantly, the windows cleared up, and I could see that we were parked out in front of the Civic Center. My dad finished cleaning his glasses and put them back on. "There, that's better. Oh, we're here." So that's them flying through the sky, and then they land where they need to be. My friends and I caught our breath. I looked down at Harry as he slipped back into my pack. I felt sick, exhilarated, and nervous all at the same time. Part of me had been hoping to be late and to be disqualified, so I wouldn't have the chance to fail. I would have won that contest if the man hadn't held me back. What man? I don't know, that one guy? We all stumbled out of the van and into the Civic Center. And that is the end of chapter 14. Please make sure you answer your questions, and I will be back in the next video with chapter 15. Bye!